Hi, hello. Welcome to another episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is June the 9th, 2023. Hopefully this episode finds you well, in good spirits, and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. Still have like a weird, is it allergies, am I sick thing. I feel better than like yesterday, but still have some kind of weird lingering symptoms. I don't know, this is definitely kind of like a weird time. Just with like, the whole, smog, whatever. But I it's weird, right? Like, cause now I'm like checking the AQI, the air quality index. And I'm like, oh man, I'm getting so old. And I mean, it's like saying like, at least in Cincinnati, air seems like moderately good. I don't know how. Am I being too conspiracy pilled? I feel like I can trust that enough, right? I don't know. It looked a lot better, than earlier this week. That's for sure. Yes, no, I don't know. But yeah, overall, we're feeling all right, and I'm good. Like, we made it. Looks like we made it. Y'all know I was struggling. Y'all know it was hard, but we made it to Friday. Friday, happy Friday to everybody. So yeah, we're feeling a little bit better. We're drinking a little bit better, at least a little bit more confidently. And I like that. I like to drink with confidence. That's important. People don't talk about that enough. You don't want to drink in a position of weakness. You want to drink in strength. Yeah, take that with you. That's sagacious tips. No. I don't know. Sadly, no food corner to report. Kind of wound up doing some errands. Talking to some friends, yada stuff, and I'm like, shit, definitely want to get my podcasting in, so didn't have time to eat yet. Whoopsie. But let's see. I'm gonna go ahead and do my traditional start, and then we can go ahead and get into some news. Hopefully, it sounds good to you. Oh yeah. All right. From Al Jazeera, Mexico investigating soldiers involved in execution of 5 men. This is a very, gruesome situation. So, trigger warning, violence. Let's see here. But Mexican prosecutors are investigating what President Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador called the execution of 5 men in an incident that has sparked outrage from human rights observers. Media outlets released a video on Tuesday appearing to show a group of soldiers pulling the men from a crashed pickup truck in Nuevo Laredo, a border city in the state of Tamaulipas. The soldiers then beat the occupants before lining them up against the wall and shooting them. Now, the timing is a bit weird. Even as I watched it, it's a very kinetic video. Like, things happen very quickly. But what it looks like is you see the video more or less starts with this truck just like careening off the highway, off the road into like a barricade with a gate, not gate, but like fence, something, whatever. It hits it really hard. Then you like immediately see a military vehicle pull up and just like pin like the truck from the right side. They all come out, these soldiers. They pull everybody out of the car. No one has any weapons on them. And, or at least if they do, I think they're like, pulled away, whatever. But I'm pretty sure they don't have any weapons on them. They're all put up against the wall. Now, from what I've read and seen, is that very quickly they are then taking on fire from like another area that you can't see from, but you immediately kind of see them like assume the position, but then also at the same time while they're like shooting at these other people, it's almost like they immediately, I had to like go back and rewatch it, but they're like executing the men, and it's like, oh my gosh. So then they have this execution, and then after everything kind of settles down, you see them picking up some things, moving things around, and it's like them putting the guns like near or on the persons of the people they just executed. So obviously this is very gruesome footage. None of this is okay. And I believe there have been arrests made, but yeah, obviously not something that is, it's not okay in any kind of book. Because I tried to think, because I tried to, like, not so much speculate, but think, well, what in a trial, what are they going to try to say here? And it's like, maybe they're going to try to say that they were worried about, like, getting literally sandwiched in the moment or something like that, and so they instantly reacted and just executed the men. But either way, that's just not how this works. Like, you can't do that. Like, I feel like they're like, obviously yes, it's clear and present danger, but I just don't even think that would work. So I don't know how that's gonna really go. But I will read a quote here. Apparently, this was an execution, and that cannot be permitted. Obrador said in a press briefing. Those responsible are about to be turned over to the appropriate authorities. Now, granted, Obrador's administration has kind of had a history of military human rights abuses that have often gone unpunished. So, despite the fact that I'm kind of saying, like, oh, this kind of looks like an open and shut thing. This is definitely very bad, and, like, these people should be, apprehended, tried, and, sentence, all that. But if they wind up not somehow getting away clean here, that would be very odd. That'd be very strange. And I'm sure that's why, people are blowing the whistle and saying, like, yo, like, you definitely got to do some shit about this, Obrador. So, let's see. Yeah, about a dozen soldiers. I mean, they were rolling deep. And granted, I mean, I'm assuming this is a very tense, crazy situation, but to just instantly execute these people who are supposed to, have their day in court, like, you just can't do that. So yeah, definitely a very icky thing. Like, normally I try not to watch the videos, but I'm like, it's right here. I'm like, am I supposed to press play and see it? And it just wild. Also, I'm not sure if I think they pulled like a sniper rifle or some shit out of the car, or I don't know if that was from them. I was like, God damn. I'm not sure. The whole shit was a lot. But one fun fact that I did learn here too from this article. Mexico's military has also been accused of using spyware known as Pegasus, developed by the Israeli firm, the NSO Group, to spy on Alejandro Encinas, Mexico's Undersecretary for Human Rights, while he was investigating rights abuses by the military. Now, Pegasus is a very, like, intense software that was developed to, like, more or less use a phone and just turn someone's phone into a spy device. Like, it is very, like, cool, but then, obviously, when you see nation states do this shit, use this shit, it's like, oh, this is very bad. Like, this is a violation right here. You should not be doing this. And Israel has passed this technology out, sold this technology out to a lot of places. And then obviously when it kind of came to light what this software did, countries like America, we've, like, oh, this is bad. We got to, like, regulate this, blah, blah, blah. But then we're also, like, using it too. We've also purchased it, use, I believe, like, equivalents or something like that. So, kind of icky, but definitely just a surprise to kind of see that at the tail end of this article. All right, we've kind of lingered on here enough. We can go ahead and move along from Golf Week. Well, I love talking about golf at Azia's Newsstand. I'm a real golf guy. I'm something of an Arnold Palmer myself. Yeah, no. Okay, I'm done. I'm sorry. I don't talk about golf unless there's some fucking political shit involved. So let's go. PGA Tour merges. I'm going to put quotations around merges. PGA Tour merges with Saudi Arabia-backed rival LIV Golf to form new global golf entity. So, I'm going to do a little bit of kind of paraphrasing, skipping around here like I often do. But on Tuesday, PGA Tour announced groundbreaking news that it had formed a new commercial entity with the goal of unifying golf with the help of Saudi Arabia's public investment fund. Now, you hear me kind of snickering as I'm reading this because in previous episode, we've talked about how, like, Saudi Arabia is doing what they have been calling sports washing something like greenwashing, a fun way to say like, oh, it's like money laundering, but with like XY moral purpose. So they're saying like, oh, they're doing all this stuff like Saudi Arabia, like, oh, a journalist died, and like, remember 9/11. So either way, the Live Golf Tour had kind of rolled into town, and they were saying, hey, we're just gonna like buy up these golfers to play in our tournament or play in our league, and do tournaments, whatever the fuck, and make a lot of money along the way if they do well, whatever. But people like I think, what is it, Phil Mickelson, he made a good chunk of money. There was another, I think, like Irish, or Irish, probably getting where he's from wrong, but a younger golfer who wound up taking a contract with Live. And any of these players who wound up leaving the PGA, initially they weren't trying to leave, but the PGA Tour was like, no, you can't do this. Like, this is really messed up. Like, you signed a contract with PGA Tour. You have to like go through these channels to get approved to do this. This isn't okay. If you leave, you're gone. You're suspended. So this was a big mess. This was literally a kerfuffle. I love using that fucking word, but this definitely fit. And you had people coming out saying this isn't right, this is wrong, like Saudi Arabia should be held accountable, they shouldn't just be allowed to get away with this, whatever this is, playing some golf. But I guess essentially the way this worked, Live Golf said, you know what, maybe we're going about this the wrong way. We're buying these players, but we should just like, I don't know, like buy the PGA. And I'm speculating on how this worked. And like I said at the top, I put quotations around merge because in newer developments, newer articles I've seen, PGA Tour is trying to rebuff the notion that this is a merge. I'm like, well, what do you mean? Like you're hearing me describe this. This is what it is. Like, I'm not bullshitting you. So I don't understand how they're trying to delude themselves into thinking that they are not merging with a group that they did just say was bad, that they are not okay, they are not good. So like, what is it? But essentially, yeah, like Live Golf said, you know what, we'll just buy the PGA Tour more or less. So they all came to the table, and they have signed an agreement that combines the Public Investment Fund, golf-related commercial businesses and rights, including Live Golf. So essentially, Live Golf is saying they're getting together with the PGA Tour and the DP World Tour, which I believe is like a European golfing situation, and they're going to form a new group, obviously for profit, of course. And I'm pretty sure. Let's see. There's some power that kind of both sides get. Let's see if I can find. Maybe not. But it's like, I think they don't have board control, but they are on the board, of course. But then they also have like the ability to be like the first person to say, oh, we don't want to invest our money this way, or we don't want to take our money this way. Let's see, but the PGA Tour will appoint a majority of the board and hold a majority of voting interest in the new entity. The board of directors of the new entity will include Al Ramayan and Chairman and Monahan as Chief Executive Officer. So, I mean, it's definitely an interesting shakeup. It's also very weird, too, because players also chose a side here. Obviously, for the players that decided to go to the Live Golf thing, people were literally like, so if, and I'm paraphrasing here a bit, like, if, like, Hitler wanted you to play golf with him, you would do it for, like, you would do it, like, for X amount of money, and, like, motherfuckers would be like, what? Like, we're not answering that. They'd be like, you're just willing to play this for X amount of money, it doesn't matter what. And it was more or less accused, like, oh, you're just doing this because it's just a lot of money and you're willing to just forego whatever Saudi Arabia has done as, like, this evil nation. So there was that on their end. Then from the PGA, the players, some players were like, oh, yeah, I think this is really fucked up. I don't think that what Live Golf is doing is okay. Like, I think we need to be asking some questions and doing da-da-da. So it was a lot of tension, and now I think it's gotten even worse because now those players are now all re-corralled. And I also mentioned that some players were literally bought out to go play at Live Golf. And from what I've heard, that there is potential talks that some players will be kind of like quote unquote made whole. Like, hey, we're going to like maybe dole out some money, something like that. Now, I don't know if that's concrete or not. We'll see. But obviously it's a bit of egg on some faces. You know, definitely people look like hypocrites. And hey, as a human being, as a real human being, I'm definitely guilty of that too. I get it. Sometimes you think you're on the right side. Excuse me. And then you see a big bag of money and you go, whew. So maybe I don't care so much. Obviously morals are important, you know. I don't want to sit there and try to, you know, dissuade people from that. No, do the right thing, obviously, like Spike Lee. But we are definitely living in a society, man. That's why I like the whole idea of like greenwashing, sports washing, all this kind of stuff. Like, it's a weird concept to me. Like, it's capitalism. Like, it's capitalism across the board. We all have to get money to survive. So if that is our base motion, our base notion inside of us, like, yeah, we're all trying to make a buck. Like, I know people go, oh, like these athletes are making so much money, but you only have this short window to make that money. So you need to make this count. Like, why would I want to play in a tournament where the payouts are way smaller when I can just go to this LIV golf tournament thing and make way more money? Whether or not I'm even getting a big payout like the Phil Mickelsons of the world or whatever, you know? So I get the idea to make the move. I'm curious to see what this new entity is going to be, how things are going to shake up. But it was definitely interesting. Like I said, I'm not much of a golf guy or really a sports guy, but, you know, every once in a while I like to dibble, I like to dabble. All right, I've chased my tail enough here. Let's go ahead and move along. We got some Supreme Court news to round us out for the night, day, depending on when you're listening, I guess. From the Associated Press. Supreme Court rules in favor of Black Alabama voters in unexpected defense of Voting Rights Act. Now, this one was a surprise. This was a good kind of sucker punch. I didn't see it coming. But the Supreme Court on Thursday issued a surprise 5-4 ruling in favor of black voters in congressional redistricting. I can do this, guys and gals and bees. I got this. Redistricting case from Alabama, with 2 conservative justices joining liberals in rejecting a Republican-led effort to weaken a landmark voting rights law. So this is a big move. 5-4, so more or less in a supermajority. That meant 2 conservatives moved over and voted with the liberals and said, we don't agree, you know, we want to stop this. So those 2 were Justice John Roberts and then Justice Brett Kavanaugh. Now, when I look at Kavanaugh and kind of see how he has been kind of moving back and forth, the little bit I do know, it kind of makes sense that like Kavanaugh kind of plays the field a bit and like LARPs as like a moderate, because, you know, that's quote unquote what these judges are supposed to do. So it does kind of make sense. Roberts was a big surprise from what I've kind of heard, because he, as a lawyer back in the Reagan administration, he was a big part of like setting up these kind of gerrymandering laws that are being talked about here in this Voting Rights Act, essentially making it so, yes, you have this big black majority and they should be allowed to vote how they want, and those results should matter. They should be equally, you know, tallied in this whole electoral college bullshit, right? Well, when any party, because this does happen on both sides for sure, but when any party gets involved, like they get power, they will gerrymander, they will redistrict, they will break up, they will pack in districts and make it so it's like, okay, yes, you should look at this map and understand it should be split this way. It's this region, it's this city, whatever. But no, we're going to break it up here, connect it here, break this here, move this there. And like you wind up having this super Republican charged area that just shouldn't be. It just shouldn't exist. Or Democratic area that just shouldn't exist. It's just overpacked. It's weird. That being said, this is kind of one of those things where I've kind of mentioned before too, where you see conservatives always ready to play ball. Like, and what I mean by that is like they don't care about the rules sometimes. They're willing to bend them if it works for them. Whereas you just see a lot of liberals and Democrats, like, they just kind of play the game in a way that's like, yeah, you know, we'll do the right thing. And then we'll kind of chase our tail, and then we'll kind of be moderate. And just when you watch this kind of shit happen day after day, year after year, it does make you frustrated. Especially when you're like, man, when are we going to get to the things that you guys keep telling us that you're going to get to? But let's see. The decision was keenly anticipated for its potential effect on control of the closely divided House of Representatives. Because of the ruling, new maps are likely in Alabama and Louisiana that could allow Democratic-leaning black voters to elect their preferred candidates in 2 more congressional districts. So that's a big move. That's a major move. So, like I've said before, it's weird how these cases are just, okay, this one-shot case has such a big, massive effect, like the Roe v. Wade thing. But just like that, that's why this is a big deal. That's why this is important. But also at the same time, like, it's a win, but I can see why it's kind of allowed here. You don't want to have a situation like last year where you make a big rock the cradle, to pardon the pun, vote that really gets people out on the streets protesting the Supreme Court again. You don't want that. Everyone's thinking that, I guarantee you, while they're making these whole deliberations. And I think this is one of those things where you can kind of just give up. Like, even if you're John Roberts, you can just say, you know what? This is not maybe okay. We don't know. We're not all right. Plus, there's going to be more down the pipe. This is definitely going to be something that's going to be revisited soon and also later. But yeah, I mean, it's still something that's good. I definitely want to count it as a W. It's a good thing. And I might be misinterpreting it from just kind of what I'm gathering, but I think they are still allowing the supermajority to go for another term or so, or something like that. I might be getting that wrong. Obviously, if I'm not, someone, hey, come check me, whatever. Give me the feedback. But, so it's a win, but they also are kind of kicking the can in a way to say, like, oh, we're not going to, like, say this has to get revoted or looked at in lower courts and, like, re-adjourned. I'm using the wrong words, but whatever. You guys get me. So the supermajority might still stand, but still in the future, maybe it'll change. I might be getting this part wrong. But yeah, overall, this is a W. And yeah, we'll move on to the other Supreme Court thing, and then I will let you go. And then I'll finally eat some food, get some brain power, and then, probably go to bed or something. All right. From Reuters. U.S. Supreme Court rules for Jack Daniels and fight over parody dog toy. Now, in my haze, I'm pretty sure we did talk about this before. These little bad spaniels, squeaker toys. Essentially, it was like this vinyl chew toy situation. And Jack Daniels was coming for this this LLC, this company, for essentially, stealing their likeness without their permission. And I don't know. I don't want to say I'm surprised by this, but I mean, it's like, oh, okay. To me, it's kind of a bummer because the idea that these are the same things, like when you look at the toy, I really wish I could have posted it again, but like the toy, it's just a toy. It's a dog toy. It literally has a dog on it. Like it's just making a parody. It's making a play on the name. But I mean, we did talk about the Prince photo, like Andy Warhol situation. So in a way, I guess this does kind of line up. I don't know. To me, it seems like a weird win for Jack Daniels. But obviously, I get them just kind of coming for it. I guess they just kind of wanted it to stop. Or maybe they want to make their own chew toys. And they're like, this is like cutting into our potential, market. Now, they do go into talking about like tests and things like that. I don't really want to get into that. It's been a long day. It's been a long episode. So I'll spare you on that. But yeah, more or less W for Jack Daniels. L for bad spaniels. Rough. It's rough. It's hard out here. But yeah, that's the news. I'm good with this. I can leave it there. Thank you again for listening to another scuffed episode of the podcast. I'm gonna try to keep the show a little bit lighter tonight. Patreon.com/Isaiah News. You know it. You love it. It's there. If you'd like the shout outs, that's an available thing. Discords, that's there. That's free though. You know how that goes. But free ways to hit me up: Facebook, Twitter. Also, we're on Instagram. We're also on the YouTube. Feel free to subscribe. Feel free to hit the bell. IsaiahNews1@gmail.com. That's like, the dry way to hit me up. Sleepless in Seattle style. But yeah, that's the episode. I thank you so much for just listening and being a friend, being a pal. I really hope that you've had a fantastic Friday. And if not a Friday, just a wonderful, magical day. And hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.